Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? No. Sorry. It seems that they can hear me, but not you, Tabitha. Can you try one more time? Hello, Nicole. Sorry, we're having some technical issues right here with the volume or audio. Can you guys hear me? Yes, okay. So hang in there. Hello, everyone. Let's just wait for a few minutes. Okay, so you can hear me all right. So let's see if Tabata can come back in to make sure that we can hear her too. Hi, Shanice. How's it going? We're having some technical issues, so hang in there. Of course, it will happen. Well, Tabata comes back in. We want to be, conscious of your time. So thank you so much for joining us on this webinar today. From solo entrepreneur to CEO. Basically, we want to go over the 3 things that you can do now to protect your business and avoid costly mistakes. So as we go along, you may have some questions. So please type them in the chat, and then we'll come directly to us. We'll be doing Q&A at the end, but please, we encourage you to post your questions along the way so we can then address them on that section. My name is Elliot Strunk. I am a business financial consultant with Access Financial Network, and Tabitha Taylor, who is a business attorney with Bryant Taylor Law. And where you're going to be your host for today. and we're here to share with you the tools that you can implement to protect your business as a solopreneur. Let's take a look. Seems that she's coming in. How about now? Can you guys hear her? Tabitha, say some. It's not going. All right. Let's start this way here. So, disclosures and disclaimers. I know that this is the boring slide, but it's necessary as we're both our fiduciaries also on the information that is presented. And basically, the information that is going to be here is just for informational purposes and does not create an attorney-client privilege or provide specific legal advice for any individual situation. So the webinar should be used in conjunction with and not as a substitute for qualified legal counsel. Only an attorney with knowledge of your situation can provide the assistance you need. So you're urged to consult an attorney about your individual matters. So we're gonna start basically talking about the unique challenges of a solopreneur. Oh, I heard something. Tabitha?
Yeah. Hi, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, there you go. I can.
Sorry, I don't know what. It's the universe. The universe doesn't like me when it comes to technology. But thank you guys so much for your patience, and Ellie for doing a great job of kind of popping in here. I won't interrupt anymore. I'll let you continue. I know we were just at the unique challenges, so go right ahead.
So solopreneurs are flexible. They're dedicated individuals. You are passionate about their business, and you're willing to go at it alone. So to find success in your endeavors, you're most often assume every role in your company. So I'm sure that it's inevitably that you're wearing all these hats and that they will lead to some obstacles at the beginning of one's entrepreneurial journey. But the key here is understanding how to anticipate and overcome those challenges. The biggest challenge for a solopreneur that we hear often in our conversations with clients is that they need a clear understanding of where they want to go. Do you want to remain a one-person business, or are you looking to use growth or beyond that? In either case, adding some elements of scale and leverage to the mix is required to escape the trap of purely trading hours for dollars. Because if you don't, you essentially own a job and you don't own a business. So let me repeat that. We do not want to have hours for dollars. We don't want to own a job. We want to own a business, a successful business.
So really what the conversation that I have with a lot of our entrepreneur clients is, why do you keep going? What is it that caused you to start this company? What is it that makes you want to continue in this endeavor? You know, day after day, you have your different obligations. You wear a million different hats within your business when you easily could have stayed at a 9-to-5 job and been able to clock out and leave work behind you like a majority of people do. But you're not majority of people, right? So essentially what you've done, whether knowingly or unknowingly, is you've created an asset for yourself. You've created something that provides value, something you can actually sell, something you can actually pass down to future generations if you want to. But you can't do that if it's not protected. So before we kind of pop off to the next slide here, I want to ask, how long have you guys had your businesses if you are business owners? So if you could take a moment and pop into the poll that we just posted. We're just curious where exactly you are on your entrepreneurial journey, because regardless of what stage you're at, you're always going to have some sort of need for protection, and your needs are going to continue to change as your business changes. A business is just like a person. You weren't the same person that you were when you were 12 years old or 22, 32, 42. Your business is not going to be the same as when it's less than a year old when it's in that 1 to 5 year mark, and when it's been established for over 5 years. But regardless, it still needs protection, because you're not going to get to the over 5 year mark or the I can sell this business now part of your entrepreneurial journey unless you protect it as soon as possible. So there's a lot of importance that goes into planning.
Absolutely. And planning in business is essential to success. When a company has a planning process and a plan to follow, leaders are better equipped to prepare for the future. A business plan creates a focus for the company, uniting employees towards a common goal. So when everyone works together, it's easier to manage time and resources to position the company for growth. And that is the key. On the same token, when a company has a plan in place, management is better equipped to handle uncertainty, and plans can be created to handle possible future scenarios so that the company is prepared for any situation with a list of resources. So, ambiguous circumstances can bring a company down, but proper preparation can be the key to staying afloat during hard times. So, the first golden nugget today is to know the value of your business. This is such an integral part of effective planning that it is a great place to start. You probably have a good idea of what your business is worth, but if you are like a lot of other business owners, you may not have ever had your business valued. There are several factors that are impacted by knowing and protecting the right value when it comes to your business. So your estate plan can be impacted with regards to how your heirs might be taxed. Your buy-sell agreement will indicate what value should be considered for various trigger events. What about if you lose or want to retain a key employee? That can also impact the value of your business to a potential successful successor or buyer. So, do you have a ready market for your business, or have you done everything you can to get the value you plan on from your business? Most won't seek a business valuation until they're ready to sell, but getting it valued can help you protect the business and plan for the future. So remember that the importance of planning cannot be understated regardless of your goals.
And so, as a solopreneur, which a lot of you here are, it can be really challenging to juggle everything that you have to do for your business, for your family, and for yourself. And sometimes the last thing on your mind can be ensuring that your business is actually protected. So I first of all want to recognize each of you for actually being here today and prioritizing your business, because by prioritizing your business, you're ultimately prioritizing yourself. As Ellie mentioned, your business has a value, and that value directly benefits you. So the good news is that there are 3 very easy to implement things that you can actually do right now to give yourself immediate peace of mind that this asset that you're building is protected. And those 3 things in a nutshell is having an operating agreement for your business, getting a business continuation plan in order, and securing the right insurance for you. And so those are the 3 things that we're really going to go over here today. And I'm pretty sure at least one of you, because when I'm in my consultations with my clients, this is usually what I hear. It's too overwhelming. I don't even know where to start. Is this something I could even afford? I'm too busy running my business and making sure that I meet my overhead, that I pay myself, that I pay my employees. And they're really concerned about how to put all of this in motion. Because although it can be a lot of moving parts, the great news is that you don't have to do it. You can utilize your network and your professionals to make sure that your business is actually protected, so that you can have the peace of mind of knowing that any possible attack that your business is vulnerable to is more likely than not completely protected. And so that's why we're actually here today, because the reality is that you can't afford not to protect your business. And it's much, much easier than you actually think it is. It's possible. We can get everything in order for you. It's painless. You do none of the heavy lifting. And then at the end of the day, you walk away with a peace of mind of knowing that you protected your asset. So You're probably wondering, who are you? And I know I kind of missed the intro at the very beginning for technical issues, but I do want to stop here and kind of take a second to introduce ourselves so you know who you're working with. So Ellie, I'll pass it to you first.
So my name is Elliot Strong, and I am on a campaign for financial literacy. I cannot stress enough how important it is for me to share my knowledge to other people, especially business owners when they're already in a nutshell by itself. My mission is to help individuals and businesses alike build a strong financial foundation. And in order to achieve it, everyone should really understand those fundamental concepts in building wealth. I like to say that life is more important than money. I mean, in fact, money is more than money because it's wrapped up in our hopes and fears and dreams. And that's why we offer a humanistic and holistic approach to financial advice that takes into account the whole you. So, with all, honesty, openness, and optimism, we can create a plan that's your true north. And then we use unique strategies to complement your business, tax, and legacy planning.
And I compliment Ellie in that sense. I'm more of an ally to what she's doing with her campaign for financial literacy. Like I mentioned, I'm Tabitha Taylor, and I'm one of the co-managing partners of Bryant Taylor Law. And my partner and I formed our law firm about 6 years ago now because we really wanted to help entrepreneurs. My passion is helping business owners protect what they're building. And at Bryant Taylor Law, we don't just want our business owners to survive. We want them to thrive. And the only way to do that is if you actually stay in business. And so a little bit of background about me is I'm a first generation American. I'm a South Florida native, and both of my parents are actually solopreneurs, and they own their own businesses. And so they usually toe the line, like Ellie mentioned earlier, about do you own a business, an asset, or are you really kind of just self-employed and you own your job? So what I witnessed firsthand with my parents is the ways in which they left their companies open to vulnerabilities because they didn't know the resources that were available to them and how to use the resources. More importantly, how easy and simple it is to utilize those resources. I kind of want to share something with you guys personal to me. So as I mentioned, my mother's a solopreneur, and she owns a company all by herself, which means she's wearing all of the hats, right? She's the marketer, she's the HR person, she does payroll, she is the actual one doing the production, she does the actual work. And one year she was just happened to be walking down some stairs, and one of the steps gave way, and she ended up needing knee surgery. It took a huge toll on her business, meaning because she was the one who wore all the hats, there was nobody to replace her. There was no plan in place for what would happen. And she didn't have any insurance to help her when that time came. And so fortunately, she's much better now, but the financial struggles that she went through were really hard for me to watch as her daughter. And the worst part was that those struggles were completely unavoidable or completely avoidable. So as a business attorney, it's really my mission to help as many business owners that are like my mom as possible, especially knowing how simple it would have been for her to protect her business and how simple it is for you to protect your business, both from the unexpected as well as the expected transitions in the company. So at the end of today's webinar, what we're going to do, because we are both so very passionate about this, is we're giving you this exclusive offer where you're going to get to sit down with Ellie and I for a full hour. You get 2 heads for the price of free, basically. And Ellie's going to do a business valuation for you. I'm going to take a look at your operating agreement, just give you an overall assessment of whether you have a great one, perfect, or here's where you need some revisions. And we really are going to go through this strategy session with you. Normally we charge about $3,000 for these services, but because you're here with us today, we're going to give these to you completely free. And so Ellie, I'll let you go ahead and speak on that for a moment.
Well, the business valuation is, like I said, an integral part of it. And it is important to understand where your business is at. So then we can then take a projection and make it forward. Where do we want it to go? And in that situation, then we'll be able to be better equipped as to all the moving parts that come inside a business continuation plan. And with that, we'll be able to then see your situation, where you are personally, where you are in business, and make sure that the business is actually being funded for you. Because at the end, when you are building this business, you also are getting income from that. So why can't the business really finance your personal life as well? And we are able to offer all of these things with the proper planning.
Exactly. And so if you guys want to take advantage of this, like, it's completely free. It's in, you should see it on the offer tab, and feel free to go ahead and book that call. Like I said, it's going to be with both Ellie and I, in addition to the valuation and the overview of your operating agreement. So some of you may even be asking, what is an operating agreement? Maybe you don't even have one. That's perfectly fine. So there's three main things what an operating agreement does. The basics is, it literally tells you how to operate your company. It's an agreement for how the company is going to operate. And the three things that it really provides to you, first and foremost, is protection. Now, whether you have a business partner or you're a solopreneur, an operating agreement is still incredibly important. First and foremost, because it's going to protect you if you are a solo owner of a company from from potential weaknesses, further weaknesses. And what it does, when you are a solopreneur, you actually have a unique challenge of proving that your business is a completely separate entity from you as an individual. And how do you do that? By legitimizing your business as much as possible. The first step is actually with an operating agreement, because that's one layer of protection to show the separation between you and the company. There's other things that you can do as well that I'm happy to chat about with you during the call but for example, having a separate business bank account, things of that nature to further separate you from your business. The other thing that's very important is financing. If you ever want a business line of credit or some sort of business loan or SBA loan, it depends on the institution, but most institutions require an operating agreement. They're going to ask you for that because they want to make sure that who they're lending money to is not just some person who's never going to pay it back. It's a company that has been legitimized both under the state of Florida or whatever state you're in, as well as within your own personal operations, which again means all those different separation tools that you can put into place. Or for instance, if you ever wanted to bring on a business partner, your operating agreement is going to tell you how you can do that. And we will work with you or whoever you want to work with to generate your operating agreement to allow you, as the owner, as the founder, as the brains behind everything, to dictate what the rules for your company are going to be. Because this leads me to my third point, which is without an operating agreement, you don't get to decide the rules for your company. The state within where your business is located gets to decide the rules for your company. So first and foremost is, for instance, if you're in the state of Florida, the Florida statutes are going to govern and dictate what happens to your company in certain situations. If you wanted to dissolve the company and you don't have an operating agreement in place, guess what? State of Florida gets to tell you how your company is dissolved. If you want to do something with respect to business partners and who has what rights, state of Florida is going to tell you who has what rights. And so the way to regain that control is to have an operating agreement in place so that you get to dictate what happens to this asset that you are building. And so that also comes together with your business continuation plan. So this is what Ellie and I kind of briefly touched on earlier. And a business continuation plan is pretty much just a legal document that you keep for your own business records. And it says what's going to happen to the company in the event that you are no longer in that role. So think of an operating agreement as what governs when you're in place and when you're not in place. But your business continuation plan is what's going to govern when you're not in place. And that could mean so many different things. It could mean that, like my mother, you're injured and you couldn't work. So you need someone else to step into that role. It could mean that you want to pass on your business. You're ready to sell it. You're ready to pass it to future generations, whatever it may be. The business continuation plan is something you can implement immediately to protect your company. And that's really the most effective when you have the right insurance in place.
And it can be easy to think that you'll have plenty of time to prepare for a transition in business or ownership, or time can go by faster than you think, and there are many events, both planned and unplanned, that could impact your business. So why not really have the right amount of money in the right place at the right time? So, with this, well crafted and fully funded business continuation plans or buy sell agreements offer protection for a variety of events. And this is very important because we don't do anything by having an operating agreement or a business continuation plan that is not funded. Okay. So, what if, for example, there's a change in relationships like marriage or relationships between owners that can fall apart? So that could happen, right? What if the owners grow apart, develop separate plans or visions or strategies and approaches of doing business? Or if one owner is working harder than the other? What happens if you, as the owner, are the main breadwinner of your family and something happens to you, right? What's going to happen then? An owner becomes disabled or passes, From a pure business perspective, this can be more difficult than the partner's death, even. So, covering operating expenses until you find a replacement of hire, training the replacement hire, purchasing a former owner's ownership into the business. All of these are, additional events that make a continuation plan important, that include also mergers or divorce, bankruptcy, retirement. I mean, the list goes on and on. You clearly see how these are just a few to mention, but all have a commonality, and that is the unexpected events. So I want to share a story also. One of my clients that we helped together on a continuation plan. He is 45-year-old. His name is Ray, and he's a business owner who built a successful construction company and whose priority was retirement income, but also protecting the business, which also provided for the family. Sounds familiar? Um, if something were to happen to him, his business will likely suffer. And if that happened, he feared that his family will be forced to downsize, yeah, his lifestyle. But since his priority was on the retirement, he needed tax efficient methods of accumulating wealth from his business to fund his retirement. And his business was doing well, and he was basically maximizing on the savings. But of course, it wasn't enough. So, in the plan that we put in place for him, we basically designed a carve out plan for Ray that provided an additional 118,000 of tax free income from age 65 to 100. So, with this, Ray had an additional 50,000 that he could take as compensation from the company, his construction company, that took the deduction, and he claimed it as income on his tax returns. So the policy design has the company paying 50,000 a year until his anticipated retirement at age 65, and at that point he receives that 118,000 every year for 35 years. So here we can see how the protection of the company and how a funded agreement actually works. One of Ray managers, Andres, has wanted to take over the business in this case, and he understands the ins and outs of the business and was interested in taking over. So what we did in this self-funded agreement was that Ray and Andres met with the attorney, and we then were able to prematurely create the contract so the steps can go as you're seeing on the screen. So this will be a self-funded one-way buy-sell for a Keyman Insurance. The business purchased a life insurance policy on Ray, right, for the 10 million of what the business was valued, that name Andres as the beneficiary. And since Andres is receiving an economic benefit, the potential for immediate tax-free cash to purchase the business, all those premiums are counted as compensation to Andres in the form of a bonus. And this allows the business to deduct the premiums as a form of compensation, meaning that whenever the business does files for taxes, this is a deduction that reduces the taxable income and bringing it even lower on the tax calculation or tax liability on the bottom line for that. So, company owned Keyman Insurance provides an economic benefit to the company as an effective way to mitigate risks associated with the premature death of an important employee or the owners as well. It also can be an effective tool for retaining employees if used with permanent cash value, because the flexibility that we have on these plans are basically endless, and we can design them in ways that it also reduces your tax liability and then create generational wealth. So just to go a little bit more into the actual key person insurance, is basically a way to help you protect against potential problems that may arise or damage or destroy what you have built throughout all these years. It can help you provide protection for your business when a key employee dies or when becomes disabled or leaves. It provides a financial cushion to help you recruit or replace a key employee. It can serve an additional purpose, including informally financing deferred compensation plans for the owners. And this is just the surface of the business plans, but the foundation to be able to have a successful and long term business is based on these three frameworks that we've been sharing today.
So what we're going to do now is open it up to Q&A. Feel free to put it into the chat. They will come directly to us. And so, Ellie, I don't know if you can see them on my end, but I can go ahead and read it out. It looks like we do have a couple so far. Again, feel free to add in your questions as we go. The first question is for you, Ellie. Someone wants to know how an organization really benefits from a deferred compensation plan.
Well, it's simple. We just went over that. Basically, the three steps that the deferred compensation works is that it allows you to reduce taxes. Deferred compensation means that we are putting money in this bucket for later, but the company itself is taking the deduction now. So you as the business owner can have a deferred compensation plan where the business pays, for example, Shanice. Shanice's business pays Shanice as an employee, right, as an individual, X amount of money, let's say $20,000 a year, $50,000 a year. The business takes the deduction of the $50,000 that is paying Shanice, and that lowers the taxes. So at the end of the year, when you file for them, you're going to have 50,000 less of whatever income you have created or generated, or the business generated at that point. So now Shanice has income aside that is going to be paying in the later years. Then she is taking the normal compensation that is having right now, and all of that, whenever she decides to retire and take money from that deferred compensation plan, guess what? Tax free. No taxes whatsoever, is not reported as income, and you'll be able to supplement it with other retirement planning strategies that we can work on as well.
Okay, perfect. And so we have one other question from Sean. He wants to know, if I already have an operating agreement, how often does it need to be revised? That's a great question. And it really depends on how recent your operating agreement is. If you just had it drafted last year and there's been no significant changes in your company, then you probably are fine with the operating agreement that you have. If you drafted your operating agreement when you first started and now you're 5 years in, 4 years in, 3 years in, it's probably time for it to get reviewed. What we usually do with our clients is we'll do like an annual audit, and we offer that to our clients so that we can say, okay, what do we need to update? What changes have there been? So for instance, some changes that you might have is maybe you brought on a business partner, or maybe you converted your entity. So some people started off as corporations, and then they decided, well, we're going to convert to an LLC because of the additional benefits that an LLC offers. Certainly, but do you still have your old agreement in place from when you were a corporation? If so, then it's certainly time to update it into an operating agreement, because operating agreements are usually specific to the entity that you have. And so those are the types of things to keep an eye out for. Have you had any major changes? For instance, maybe you recently got married. Well, you might want to update your operating agreement because, well, what happens if you get a divorce? You want to make sure that even though you have a business as an asset, it's not subject to the marital assets, if you will. So those are some things just to keep in mind when you have your operating agreement as to how soon it was from being revised. And then it looks like, feel free, guys, we're going to stay on as long as you guys have questions for us. It looks like we have one other question here for you, Ellie, and that is, what can you have protection insurance without a business continuation plan?
Yes, you can. However, it's like sort of like what came first, the chicken or the egg. What I like to say is that at the end of the day, you may have already all these things, right? You may have insurance here, you may have disability, you may have life, but what is it that you really have? You just have a basket of products with no guidance whatsoever. So how do you really know that the amount, whenever, say for example, disability, which is very important for a business owner, especially when you're a solopreneur. If you took a disability policy on yourself, how long ago was that, right? Because you may have had different income maybe 5 years ago, and now your business has done extremely well that we need to up that, right? So a review really on the policies that you currently have becomes key to then be able to materialize it and make it into an actual plan that if something were to happen to you, then you can, that, you can tell your manager, or you can take your right hand person, or if it's a family business, your husband or wife, your spouse, hey, this is the plan that is in place for any unexpected events. This is how we're going to proceed, and this is how I want things to happen, and play along as how I desire. So to your question, no, you don't. Yes, you can have one thing and not the other, but it's not a holistic, it's not like a puzzle that fits together into what you really want to achieve.
Okay, perfect. Looks like we have one last question here, at least that I see in the chat right now. And that is, how does a business continuation plan help me if I'm the only owner? Okay, so that's a good question. I see where you're coming from. Is if I'm the only owner, ideally what you may be thinking is I have nobody to take over for me, right? And so the principle behind the business continuation plan is what's going to happen if I can't. So there's actually been a couple of instances where we can get creative with this. And first and foremost, the business continuation plan, whether you have a partner or not, is so vital to your company. But what you can do, and let me preface this again, this is the lawyer in me. This is not advice specific to you. Everyone's situation is going to be individual. So I highly recommend that we really learn more about what your situation is. But if you're the only owner and really the only one working in the business, you likely know someone that you trust with your company. And so if you're in a position where you're not able to carry out the duties that you normally need to as the individual. But let's say you have invoices to pay, you have contractors that you need to pay, you have clients who have put money into your account and they need to be updated that you're no longer able to perform, or perhaps that you have to wait a little bit to really kind of get started on those. So really what happens is you'll still want to identify somebody who you can say, here's where my accounts are, here's the access to it. And they're not going to get that right away. We're just going to put that all in the legal document, the business continuation plan. And then if something were to happen where you're disabled, something along those lines, and you're temporarily unable to work in your business, you can then identify that person and say, hey, there's a document. I've listed you as this individual. Think of it kind of like a custodian for parents. You know, everyone thinks, so if something happens to me, I want this person to take care of my kid. It's like that, but for your business, because I'm sure, as we all know, your business pretty much becomes your baby and it needs the same time and attention. Exactly. So that's what we could do with the continuation plan. And then when you marry that together with the insurance, then you don't have to worry about your income, right? Maybe you have short-term disability or something along those lines that we incorporate into the business continuation plan so that you have the peace of mind of knowing, all right, my clients aren't just going to up and leave because suddenly they're not hearing from me. This person that I've identified is going to make sure everything's taken care of. And they're going to make sure if I need to send a refund, I send a refund. If I need to pay out this vendor and the money's in my bank account, they're going to pay that vendor for me. At the same time, I'm not going to have the concern of what am I going to do because I can't work right now. How am I going to pay my bills? Because you know that you have the insurance. So really, they're two pieces of a puzzle that complete the picture. I know I'm going on a little bit here, but it's so important because we saw a lot of this during COVID when people got sick and they couldn't work in their businesses and they're like, I'm the only owner. I don't know what to do. You know, that's something that your business continuation plan coupled with your insurance would really be able to fix. So, you know, unfortunately for a lot of the people that did come up to us during COVID, we couldn't help them be proactive about it. All we could do at that point is really sort of mitigate the damages. So, and that's, again, lawyer talk, but we can really kind of lessen the burn for them and still try to make, you know, lemonade out of lemons. So, Ellie, I don't know if you see any other questions on your end. I don't see any on mine. Is there anything you wanted to add before we wrap up here today?
Yeah, I just wanted to make one last comment on the same question that was asked. Even though there may not be a person right now to take over the business, and you know, it's just yourself, right? And if you are the breadwinner of the family, I've seen this 2 times that has happened in my career, and one was it hit home as well. But basically, the situation where family members don't really want anything to do with your business, to call it like that. It's something that you've done, you're happy, you're providing for the family, but probably spouse doesn't want anything to do with it or continue it on. And there was no insurance in place as well.
Yeah,
when
that happens a lot. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, and yeah, no, it does happen. And like I said, I've had it where the unfortunate event happened twice at least in my career. You know, in a sense, thankfully, it only has happened so little, but when things are in place, everything runs much more smoother than trying to scramble about how much a business is and find the contracts in place and where do we go to sell it, who do we sell it to, and try to cash out from the business.
Oh, it looks like we lost Ellie, but thank you guys so much for joining us. We really appreciate this. You know, you guys coming to focus on your business. And feel free to click the offer. It does expire. It's only good for another hour that we're offering these free services to you. Honestly, take advantage of it. Get your business evaluated. Get your operating agreement evaluated. Let's come up with a strategy session. Ellie's popping back in here, but we really wanted, Ellie, I was just kind of wrapping up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Popped up. Just letting them know that the link is available for another hour. It'll be good. And then after that, we're no longer going to be offering these free services. And unfortunately, they will be charged. So we really want to make sure that you guys take advantage of it, because just knowing the value of your business right now, whether your operating agreement is functional, that in and of itself is priceless. So I really want to thank you guys so much for coming on here, for being patient with us at the very beginning through technical difficulties, and for focusing on your business. Ellie, anything else you want to add in?
No, that's it. Thank you so much for taking the time of joining us today, and share the wealth.
Absolutely. You guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and congratulations on your businesses. That's quite an accomplishment. We look forward to speaking with all of you soon.